Your bra and underwear should not be the most uncomfortable things you're wearing, and yet for the longest time, mine was. Digging in, riding up, and knowing by the time I picked up the kids from school. But now I've switched to MeUndies and I have not looked back. The feel-free bralettes and undies I'm wearing right now are not only adorable, but their signature ultramodal fabric is breathable, stretchy, and ridiculously soft, like butter. It moves with you. No adjusting, no irritation, just an all-day comfort whether you're recording, running errands, or just living your best spring life. And all the spring prints? So fun. Classic black basics to expressive seasonal vibes. There's truly something for everyone, and in sizes extra small to 4XL. I love every single product I have gotten from MeUndies, from the underwear to the bralettes to, the pajamas. I want another pair of pajamas. And PJs for the kids. Birthday present option? I think so. And to top it all off, MeUndies uses responsibly sourced materials. If you're not happy with your first pair, it's on MeUndies. Over 30 million pairs sold and 90,000 5-star reviews. Consider this your official underwear upgrade. Right now, as a listener of our show, you can get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/culty. Promo code CULTY. That's 20% off, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/culty. Promo code CULTY.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything.
I'm Sarah Edmondson.
And I'm Anthony Nippy Ames, and this is A Little Bit Culty.
We woke up from a cult, and that journey was captured in The Vow on HBO and in my memoir, Scarred.
Now, in this podcast, we break down the shame and secrets that make these experiences so destructive with honest conversations on how seemingly benign groups can cross into the cultiverse and how to spot and recover from trouble if it happens to you.
Each week, we bring in experts, survivors, and whistleblowers to explore red flags, resilience, and even share a few laughs, because sometimes you gotta laugh.
Subscribe to our Patreon for early and ad-free listening, some live Q&A, and exclusive content at patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Welcome to Season 8 of A Little Bit Culty.
Welcome back to A Little Bit Culty, everyone.
Today's guest is Bjorn Bolinder, photographer, performer, and one of those blink and you miss him background characters from The Vow.
Born to be wild. No?
Nippy's been wanting to say this for a long time. Yes, babe, Bjorn to be wild.
Yeah, there we go. There
or
it is.
Bjorn again.
Yeah, born to be bad.
If you spotted the guy on the ladder shooting that big V-Week group photo, yep, that's him. For most NXIVM nerds, Bjorn has been a mystery till now.
In this first part of our conversation, Bjorn to be Wild takes us back to January 2015, when a seemingly ordinary photo gig and a date with Coach V pulled him into executive success programs, aka ESP, in the New York City Center community, just as he was deep into his own spiritual healing journey.
He talks about why the program felt so compelling at first, how quickly he dove into volleyball games, V-Week, and Goals Lab, and what it was like to fall in love with a sense of connection and ethical world building long before any real red flags came into view. We also get into how his background in dance and theater made NXIVM's performance community feel especially magnetic, and why the New York City Center felt like instant family. And also we cover how easy it was to ignore early discomfort when the promise of growth and belonging seems so strong.
Here's part one with Bjorn.
Welcome officially to A Little Bit Culty. You are probably one of the most unknown characters for the NXIVM nerd people. Because for those, except for the people,
He's behind the scenes.
Yeah, you've been behind the scenes.
Right. Real power's behind the throne.
People don't know who you are yet, but the NXIVM nerds are they're just going to freak out over this episode because you have a unique perspective.
I think so. Well, and if they want to identify me, they can just find me standing on a ladder, taking a group photo in that episode. It was episode 3, right? The one that introduces you and your story of The Vow?
I think we're right from the beginning, aren't we?
The one that really like zooms in on.
I don't remember. I'm going to have to watch it again.
Yeah, it's the episode where you're talking about V Week. They're showing a lot of footage about V Week, and there's like a crane shot. And there's a big group photo being taken on the lawn, and I am on the ladder taking the photo. And I remember when it aired, I was like, oh, okay, yep, that's me.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of people had that reaction.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry. Well, for those who spotted you on the ladder and don't know your story, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
And I don't even know. I don't even know who you were when you joined. And
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, Nippy was
ground
there.
Zero. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that and who recruited you and what that was like. Just tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about January of 2015. This is tail end of January 2015. So this is basically 11 years ago. And I go to photograph an event for a friend of mine. And at that event, I meet a guy. And the guy asks me out on a date. And that was a big deal for me because I hadn't really been dating for a few years. That's a whole other story that we're not going to get into, but I was excited. And so I'll call this guy Coach V, and we're going to just kind of like leave it there for now.
Yes.
And I'm sure dots will connect for you. But yeah, Coach V had been, at the time, he was a student. He had done his first 5, part of the 16-day intensive with ESP. And as we were getting to know one another, of course, he told me about this program he was doing because I, at that time in my life, was like really, really invested in my spiritual healing journey. Again, I could say a lot about that, but that would be like a multi-hour thing that we just also don't need to get into. But I was like really excited about growth and breakthrough and all of that sort of stuff. So when Coach V told me about ESP, I kind of like, my initial reaction was sort of like, well, I have my thing and I'm happy with my thing. And that's cool that you have this. I'm excited for you. Awesome. So we date for a few weeks. And on one night that I'm spending at his apartment, I'm having trouble sleeping. So I go into the kitchen just to get some water. And his roommate is there. And I had heard about his roommate, but we hadn't yet crossed paths. And so I wind up having this long conversation with his roommate, during which this guy tells me all about how with this same program, and I'm going to use my words because I don't remember the words that he used at the time, but he cured his Tourette syndrome using this program. And I, being as obsessed as I was with healing and breakthroughs and growth, was just like floored by his story, totally gobsmacked. And so suddenly, I had a new conception of this ESP thing, and that seed got planted somewhere inside me. And so Coach V and we only dated for a few weeks, amicably moved on. And I don't remember if we had any contact in the next 6 months or so, but cut to July. So it's early July 2015. And I get a voice message from him saying that he's finished his 16-day, and he just can't stop thinking about how this program would be such a good fit for me. And in fact, there's going to be an intro session specifically geared towards artists like that following night. And when I got this voice message from him, my heart really opened to it. And I said, okay, it's a yes. So I'm going to go to the thing. And it was interesting because I went to this intro already knowing that it was expensive because we had discussed the price tag on it. And I knew that it was going to be a pitch. And I knew that it was something involving very powerful tools because I'd heard the story about the overcoming of the Tourette syndrome, which I was so fascinated by. So I go to the intro and I kind of went already ready to enroll. And it just so happened, I had a pretty busy schedule that month, but it just so happened that there was a 5-day at the end of the month in New York City, and they had like 1 or 2 spots left. Supposedly. I don't know if that was just language or if that was real, whatever. You're making a face. So anyway, I didn't have any debt at the time. I hadn't been to grad school, and I just figured, you know what? I don't have the money for this right now, but I'm just going to put it on my credit card. And if this winds up being a bad decision, I'm going to own it. It's something I will learn from regardless. So I went ahead and signed up, and cut to later on in the month, the 5-day. And I wish I had taken notes because I had so many thoughts and feelings about this thing. But I have always been like a little uptight pleaser, follow the rules, want to be the teacher's pet, et cetera, et cetera. And there were so many rules about disclosure and non-disclosure. And I remember just filling out all this paperwork and thinking like, okay, I will be so good. I will follow all the rules. I want to get the most out of this thing. And so I just like didn't take notes about my experience until quite a bit later. So I do remember feeling as a lot of people did, very weird about the rites and rituals, just like the initial protocols. I felt very strange about just having to fill out all these forms and surveys or whatever. But I was really excited about being in a room with all of these other people who were interested in growth. That was thrilling for me. That has always been something that I've held as a value. And so I can't remember whether it was day 2 or day 3, because again, I didn't take any notes, but I woke up on either day 2 or day 3 and did not want to go back. Something in me was like, I don't want to go. But I was like, okay, I've paid for this thing. I'm going to go anyway. So of course I go back. And I just remember that regardless of which day it was, whatever the first module was of that day, it just blew through whatever my resistance was. Like it was just gone. And then I was just on board. So, and it's funny, I am surprised that they let me do this, but because I was so like deeply into my spiritual practice at the time, when we would have breaks, and I know there weren't a lot of breaks, but like during the breaks of substance, I would stay in the room and meditate for 20 minutes before moving on, because it was just like kind of overwhelming for me, and it was just a lot. And I just remember feeling like, okay, I have to like be me in all of this, because if I don't retain myself, then that's going to be a problem. So then, of course, there was buildup because of, EM is supposed to be such a big deal when you get to the EMs. And I can't remember if that's day 3 or 4. Day 4. Okay. So it's EM day, it's day 4. And we break into our groups, and there's so many coaches in the room because they brought a bunch of people down from Albany because they needed more EMPs in order to, take care of everybody that was there. And I have done all sorts of quote unquote healing work. And I am so comfortable with emotions. I've always been that way all my life. I feel like a kindred spirit to you, Sarah, anytime the tears come, because that's just how I am. And so I remember that I think it was like, there was one EM practitioner to 3 of us students. So we each, we kind of like went in a little circle.
Do you remember who taught your training?
Yeah, it was Jim. Rest in peace. Okay. Yeah. And the EM for me was huge. So at the time, I was like getting really triggered when I'd get on the subway and people would be playing their music out loud. It would just enrage me. And it was just like such an easy to measure type thing to bring in for that. And I watched these other 2 people get their EMs from someone from Albany. And they seemed to have like, I don't know, some sort of shift for themselves. And then we got to me, and I don't remember how much time passed, maybe just a couple minutes, but I'm just like sobbing because I'm very attuned to what's going on inside of my body. And I remember feeling like something big just changed. But obviously, I can't know for a fact that anything has changed until I get back out in the real world and I discover for myself that there is some sort of tangible impact. And so I was very curious about how that would translate. And then I also remember at some point during that 5-day, they played a video like promoting V-Week, because this was end of July. So V-Week was like just around the corner.
Yeah.
And one of the coaches from Albany was on the video team, and he had found out that I was a photographer. So he pulled me aside and said like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but there's sort of like a work trade thing that you could do if you had any interest in being on the photography team for V-Week. And that really perked me up. And again, I did that thing where I like felt into it and my heart was just like, and I thought, yeah, this is happening. Like, I know this is happening. So I contacted whoever I needed to find out whether or not, I could join that team, and that all worked out. You know how all the different ESP centers had sort of different cohort, different types of people, right? And the New York City Center was a lot of Ivies, and it was a lot of like kind of more heady businessy people, as opposed to, I don't know, like the Mexican Center or the Vancouver Center. You had so many actors. And just remember being at the end of that, there's sort of like an end ceremony, right? Where you're getting your stripe on your sash or whatever.
Stripe on your sash.
That's it.
Yeah. And I just remember just being in tears and feeling like this 5-day thing is as valuable to me as my undergraduate education was, for sure. And I need more of this. Like, I need more of this in my life. And so, of course, there's the whole, well, if you join Ethos within this amount of time, you'll get a discount. And, who doesn't love a discount? So I decided to enroll. I think I slept on it because I think there was like a window of a few days.
72 hours.
There we go. She knows.
Yeah.
And, very
Unfortunately.
well. Yeah. And so I did wind up enrolling in Ethos, and I was just psyched from the jump. And I was really excited about the coach who had been assigned to me after my 5-day, because it was like the one person I had met thus far in the New York City Center who had more of like a spiritual faith system. And she and I were just like a nice pair for that whole start. But then, of course, when you join Ethos, you're assigned, I don't know if it's this way for everyone, but like I was reassigned to somebody else who was an actor and a photographer. Like, of course, it was a great fit for me.
Just to interrupt real quick, I'm just curious, did Coach V, the person who originally told you about it, was he your sponsor? Or let's call him Coach M with the Tourette's, which I'm sure anyone can figure out who that is.
Coach V was my,
okay.
Coach V was my sponsor, yeah.
Your story sounds like so many people's.
Yeah, and also, let's call him Coach M with the Tourette's, often sealed the deal for people who were on the fence, like yourself.
Oh, I bet.
Because of his
extraordinary circumstance, whatever you want to call that.
I texted him yesterday,
also,
by the way, just out of the blue.
His story is pretty, like you say, it's pretty compelling.
You can't deny it. I mean,
it's major. I mean, regardless of what surrounds it or what's kind of beneath it or going on behind this, it's major.
Just surface level, you saw he had Tourette's and then he didn't, and you have to go, wow, like
something happened here.
Yeah, so it's pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did not respond to my text, but every now and then I think of him and feel sad that
I wouldn't respond to your text either.
That I lost that friendship.
If I was him.
If I was him, I wouldn't respond to me either, but maybe one day. I just keep sending out love notes, just to know that I, no hard feelings.
Absolutely. I mean, it is really, I don't need to tell you this. Some of my favorite people from the New York City Center, I think, are still loyal to Keith, and that's really hard.
Yeah.
It's
really hard.
Yeah. Wow.
We'll circle back to that at the end. But yeah, tell us more about your journey. I just was curious who ended up being your sponsor. So it was Coach V. Okay. And Coach V, who shall remain nameless, we'll call him Coach V. We are in touch, and I'll send him this episode, and I'm sure he'll love it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we've been talking about having him on the podcast too one day.
Oh, nice.
If it aligns. We'll keep him anonymous for now until we have his, direct permission. Now for something a little less culty, a quick sponsor message. We all know how much sleep does for our skin and for our sanity, but how much do we prioritize it? Actually unwinding at night, that is the hard part. My brain is still running tomorrow's to-do list, and my skin is suffering, especially right now in the winter. That's why I'm so excited about our newest sponsor, Osea's Dream Collection. It has become a staple in my nighttime routine, and right now, it's all about the Dream Night Serum and the Dream Night Cream, which are clinically tested, powered by bioretinol, which is essential at this age, designed to reduce the visible effects of stress while you sleep. We're talking less dryness, less dullness, softer skin, and a noticeable boost in firmness by morning. It's like saying to your skin, I got you, I'm taking care of you. And now for 2026, I'm officially adding their newest launch, the Dream Bioretinol Body Serum, to my body routine. It's a restorative overnight treatment with bioretinol, red seaweed, magnesium, and lavender that visibly de-stresses skin, firms, smooths, and promotes that calm, ready for bed feeling. These are serious results, softer, more radiant skin by morning, and a bedtime ritual that actually helps you rest. This is body care that works while you sleep, and honestly, that's the dream. I'm obsessed. Give your skin a rest. Clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code CULTY at OseaMalibu.com. This is something that I believe we should all be doing for ourselves, taking care of ourselves, getting ready for bed at night, and taking care of our skin. Enjoy. I used to think that building a really high-quality wardrobe meant either selling a kidney or living in yoga pants forever. And then I found Quince. And honestly, I'm so grateful. And I really needed to update my wardrobe because my mother is so generously taking us to Europe for spring break, and I needed a few things, needed. So I just ordered a cream Mongolian cashmere crewneck sweater, perfect to go with the jeans I got last month, also from Quince, the transit quilted commuter backpack, and a cotton cashmere ribbed turtleneck bodysuit, also to go with the jeans. Not only did they arrive in just a few days while I was panic shopping for this trip, but they are perfect for the current end of winter, almost spring vibe, and the backpack is the cutest and most perfect accessory for bopping around the city and schlepping snacks and water bottles while still looking Parisian and chic. And here's a great bonus. They skipped the middleman markup. No paying for some brands' fancy Fifth Avenue rent. Just quality clothing from ethical factories that'll survive more than 3 trips through the wash. Thousands of people rate their stuff 4.5 to 5 stars because, shocker, it actually holds up. The stitching, the fit, everything. And you can look effortlessly cool. Check out my Europe post to see all my cute fits and see if you agree. Right now, go to quince.com/culty for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to wear it and love it. And now you will. Now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to quince.com/culty for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/culty. Can we talk about that moment when you look around your house and think, how did this room slowly turn into a storage unit with throw pillows? Same. That's why we love Wayfair. It's our go-to when we want to refresh our space and actually make it work better for real life, not just Instagram life. From furniture and decor to organization solutions and outdoor essentials, they make it ridiculously easy to find pieces that fit your style and your budget. Our vibe is contemporary but comfortable and aggressively kid-friendly, so we need things that look elevated but can survive snack time and science projects. Wayfair's filters, reviews, and visual tools make it easy to find the right fit. Whether you're upgrading the living room, dialing in the podcast room, or rethinking the kids' spaces. Right now, we are so pumped about a little console table that I got for right beside the front door. From when you walk in, you need a place to put your keys and your sunglasses and a couple grab-and-go things and all the random stuff you need when you're walking out the door. Up until recently, all that stuff was just everywhere, and now it's in one little space. Thanks, Wayfair. Also, Wayfair has thousands of 5-star reviews. Yes, please. Fast shipping. Love it. And if you don't feel like deciphering assembly instructions that read like a riddle, they even offer installation services. Wayfair makes it easy to create a home that feels pulled together without pulling your hair out. Find furniture, decor, and essentials that fit your unique style and budget. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Sponsor break's done. Back for more culty stories. So you join Ethos, you're stoked. Now, at this point, was there any red flags in retrospect other than not wanting to go back on day 2 or 3?
Honestly, nothing major. Really. No, not yet. And I just dove in. I love community. And so I've always enjoyed connecting with different types of people. Growing up, I grew up in the dance world. And so I had my childhood dance community. And then when I went off to college, I started doing theater. And so I had kind of this burgeoning theater community. And then after college, I continued to dance, but in the professional dance company world in Chicago. And then I went and worked on cruise ships. And then I moved to New York. So I had like all these different connections kind of all over the world. And my mother, who is just one of the most amazing people, she really drilled into me that life is about connections and life is about, friendships and having people to lean on. And so that's always been such a huge part of my value system. And then, so to step into this program where there were all of these people who were wanting to, build a more ethical world in whatever ways that was happening for them, I was so excited about all of that. So I immediately started going to volleyball down on the pier on Sunday nights, even though I suck at volleyball. And, I would join for any events that were going on in the center.
I mean, I remember you in our goals lab. You showed up and you were a great asset to the goals lab because you showed up and you brought enthusiasm to it. And you were there every week, if I remember correctly.
Thanks, Nippy. Yeah. Let me get there because we have a V week to get through before that happens.
Oh yeah. Okay. V week first, then goals. Was there anything else about the New York City Center before V week that we need to cover?
I mean, not necessarily. Like, I was just so in it. Like, I even Proctor M, it was his birthday just before V week, I want to say. And I even wrote new words to a song and sang it because there was, of course, it was very ESP. There was a gathering at the center to honor his birthday. And despite that, this was very uncomfortable for me. I brought in a guitar and sang a song dedicated to his birthday. It was one of those things. And I was really inspired by this whole idea about people just putting themselves outside of their comfort zone and challenging themselves to grow, even though from anytime there were performances, I never felt like there was, I don't know, this might've been something I was projecting on people, but it never felt like a supportive atmosphere to me. It always,
right.
It was very bizarre, but I feel like that's a bit of a tangent.
But it was supposed to be supportive.
Yeah, theoretically.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there was something that was at odds about all of that for me, especially looking back on it. But let's just say I went to all the classes. I was very excited. I loved the structure. I loved the kind of built-in new community, and I was psyched. And so when I went to that first V week, I actually didn't get to be there on the first day. I think I arrived on day 2, which I was surprised they were letting me do that. But I was finishing a photography job upstate, not too far away. So they were okay with my arriving on day 2. So I just remember arriving at Silver Bay and just being simultaneously excited, but also deeply overwhelmed by everything. And then when I really was able to take in what was being asked of me as a member of the photography team, I was like, holy smokes, because this is a lot of work every day. And, on the topic of red flags, I didn't let myself take it in as a red flag, because all my life, when anything has been, let's call it suboptimal, I'm the type of person who's just suck it up. We're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're going to do this. It's going to be fine. And so when I just remember arriving, getting my lanyard. Yeah, all of it, exactly. And getting organized in the inn. That's where all the pizza was and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this firm picture in my mind of sitting there kind of looking at this rundown of what was being expected of me from the photographer and just being super overwhelmed. And the woman who had EM'd me during my 5-day saw me, and she came up and checked on me, how are you doing? And I basically just said, I'm really overwhelmed. And she kind of mini EM'd me then and there about the term overwhelm. And she kind of, in this process, tried to convince me that overwhelm was just an excuse that I was making up to not take on the responsibility that was in front of me. And at the time, I thought, oh, that's amazing. You must be right. Okay. Right. I'm doing this. I'm just going to disregard all the things that I'm feeling, and yay, let's do this. And I mean, looking back, I just totally disagree with that whole premise.
Yes.
But I can understand as well that she probably had to do that to herself in order to be, functioning in whatever way she was within the organization.
Mm-hmm. Or it was done to her.
Right. That's
that exact thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I could say so many things about that first V week. The things that kind of stick out the most for me, green flags were so many wonderful people. I mean, I know you've said a lot about your V week experiences, the food and needing to get away and kind of hide and from all the responsibilities.
What was good? Tell us what was good, because that's always good to focus on.
Yeah,
too.
For me, I was just really enthralled by seeing how many people were doing this program and from all these different parts of the world. And it almost felt like you could have Insta relationships with anyone just because you had this mutual understanding that you care about growth and you care about investing in, building something better. And that's a great way to sort of launch into a friendship. And, it doesn't really build a solid foundation in the same way that you would want to in the real world, but it's exciting. I loved just all of the different activities that people were doing that were on the schedule. Now, I mean, being a member of the photography team, the amount of work that they were expecting of us every day was wild. And if I was to actually bill reasonable rates for the amount of work that they wanted from us on it. I know I don't need to tell you about like doing free labor for this company, preaching to the choir here, but holy smokes, like that should have paid for many V weeks for me, not just one.
Let's take a break from the cultiverse, shall we? Here's a word from our sponsors. As all champions know, hydration isn't just about drinking more water. It's about getting the right minerals at the right time. When hydration is off, stress goes up, energy drops, and recovery takes a hit. That's why I've been into Peak's Deep Hydration Protocol, a simple day-to-night system that actually supports your body around the clock. Enlighten our audience with my routine, Sarah.
Well, Nippy, morning starts with BT Fountain, a luxury hydration reset with hyaluronic acid, ceramides, and chelated minerals that deeply hydrate, smooth your skin, and give you that clean, steady energy. No, Nippy, this is not a sports drink. It's a targeted, beauty-forward hydration.
Well put, Sarah. At night, RE Fountain is the restore step. Advanced magnesium that helps calm your nervous system, support deeper sleep, and real overnight recovery. And you know how much we like our sleep over here.
Peak is where spirit meets science, if you will. High-performance wellness with upgraded botanicals and minerals. This year, skip the generic electrolytes and commit to hydration that actually delivers. FYI, we have been using Peak long before they came on board to sponsor us, so we are thrilled. We have now been doing the hydration protocol for over a month, and we love the flavors and this fun new addition to our health routine.
Commit to intentional health. Unlock 20% off and establish your powerful foundation for sustained well-being at peaklife.com/culty. That's PIQUE life.com/culty. This is hydration redefined. Try it and glow from the inside out.
You really are glowing, Nippy.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month, we're taking a moment to celebrate women and all that they carry. At work, in relationships, in families, and in the invisible mental load that somehow never makes it onto a resume. March includes International Women's Day, which is a beautiful reminder of women's strength and progress, and also how much is asked of them every single day. We want to say this clearly. You matter. Your emotional well-being matters, and therapy can be a space that's just for you, not for fixing everyone else, not for holding it all together, but for actually taking care of yourself. We're thinking about the moms, sisters, daughters, friends, whistleblowers, and cult survivors, all the ones who show up over and over again. Take a second to text one of these women today and tell her what she means to you. It matters more than you think. BetterHelp makes therapy accessible and flexible. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and follow a strict code of conduct. With over 30,000 therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, you can find support that meets you where you are. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/culty. That's betterhelp.com/culty. Escape's over. Let's return to our regularly scheduled cult talk.
For people who don't know, people like yourself who were invited to be on Work Exchange, you were told you get to attend for free, but you do some work.
Yeah.
Right? But if you were to actually add up the hours that you put in, it should cover 5 V weeks. And sidebar, I told this to friends later as I started to figure this out who were invited to do work exchanges, like if they were invited to do rainbow, like in other words, take care of the kids. I was like, just do the math about what you're asked to do, because while you might not be able to afford to come to V Week, like just know that you might be working the entire thing and you're getting paid like $7 an hour if you do the math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that just didn't make sense to me when this company was purporting all of these values around integrity and honor and ethics. I was sort of like blinded by my enthusiasm and the newness of everything. And I was like, I don't care. I'm here. Let's do this. I'm psyched.
And they conflate the value of what V Week really is. Meaning you have this opportunity to V Week, you can't put $1 on that.
Yeah.
You get access to whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's theoretical, but they're gaslighting your grievances to say this is priceless. And
had you pushed back, that's totally what they would have said to you. Bjorn, you get to be up close and personal with the leadership and Keith and Keith.
And that was the nature of Coach Exchange too.
Oh, totally. That absolutely makes sense. And once you've worked your way up.
Until people just said, fuck it.
Yeah. You're like, it's true. I'm getting something out of this. I'm excited. Let's do this thing. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in.
And then if everyone in the community is sort of doing the same thing, it's hard not to just continue to just say yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so partly what was, most exciting was because I was on the photography team, I was assigned to circulate, and I was assigned to go capture this, go capture that. And it was cool because I got this little glimpse of a lot of different things that I wouldn't have witnessed had I not been on the photog team. So, and it's not that I was, sitting and experiencing a full hour's worth of something, but I just got to observe people, all of these different manners in which people were working towards breakthroughs and building themselves. And I thought that was very cool. And then what was odd to me was that when I was still up at 2 a.m. in the inn going through photos, because we had to submit our favorite 10 photos every day at the end of the day, which means that you have to go through your hundreds of photos in order to make those selections. There were so many people that were still up and doing whatever the heck they were doing. And at the time, it didn't strike me as that odd, because I thought, well, hey, this is just a community of hard workers, and I don't know what these projects are that everyone's working on, but they're working on something. And hey, I'm surrounded by people who are working hard. That's cool. Cut to a few years later, I might have some different takes on what some people were doing, staying up really late. But I wouldn't have had quite as much suspicion about that till the following year's V Week. But now I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So I was very excited to meet, Nancy and Keith, because of course you remember what it was like, in the early days of everything, and you've been told that, he created. Yeah, we don't need to get into all that. So I was very excited about all that.
You could share. Tell us what it was like for you.
Oh my goodness! I remember meeting Keith. I think it was birthday when there were all the cakes. It was after. I think it was probably every year there were all these cakes, right? And then there was this blowing out of the cakes. And then there was kind of a meet and greet lineup sort of situations. You could say hi. And I remember waiting in line. And then when it was my turn, I said to him, wow, I just want to let you know, I have been doing a lot of growth work for myself on a more spiritual path, and I'm so inspired by what you've built here. And he said something wouldn't you say that everything is spiritual? Something that was very, yeah. And I was like,
word salad.
He's so insightful. Well, it's just the cringe is intense, but I was very excited about it. And even the forums. You who had been around and who had heard all of the stories again and again and again, and who felt kind of obligated at this point to attend stuff that you really had no interest in participating in. For the first time, it was exciting because I was so bought in. I was bought into all of this notion that he was this super intelligent man and had all these answers to the world's problems. I feel like I need to fast forward because otherwise we're not going to get through this. So by the end of V Week, I just felt super pumped. I was super drained because of the amount of work that was there. And I also have to note that my fellow photographers were really cool. I got to work a teensy bit. I got to have interactions with Mark Vicente, which I thought was really cool because I had loved What the Bleep way back when I had seen that in 2004. And so in some respects, I was like, ooh, that's the guy. That's so cool, And I was just more motivated than ever to get back to New York City and to just plunge forward through that kind of matrix of modules as a student in ethos. And so I just kept showing up to all the classes. And then at some point, what was it? I guess I qualified for goals. You had to get through a certain amount of the courses in order to qualify for Goals and Values Lab. And also, this thing had happened for me where a work opportunity came to me, but I couldn't find a framing for it that made it make sense to me, that I could conceive of it being worth it for me. And then I took a class the very next day, and I don't remember what the class was, but it absolutely annihilated that issue for me. And I found a way of making this thing work and work really well for myself. And so I just felt whoa, this is making real tangible change for me. Mm-hmm. And before I forget, the whole thing about my EM from the 5-day, it really made a difference. Anytime people would get on the subway and they'd be blasting their music, I mean, I'm still annoyed because it's annoying, but I wasn't enraged, Mm-hmm. And I just felt whoa, just imagine what you could do with this stuff. This is so exciting. And so when I was, sharing all that stuff with my coach, he asked me if I would be interested in recording some testimonials for their website. And I, of course, felt like, absolutely, I think this is wonderful and I want other people to join. So let's do it. And so I qualified for GVL, Goals and Values Lab. And then I recorded some testimonials like a week later. And so, yeah, enter Nippy into my world. And honestly, Nippy, you were such a green flag for me in this organization. Like, I cannot even express for you. Growing up as a very sensitive, out of touch with his sexual, like little repressed gay kid in the suburbs in an era where it was just like not okay to be gay. I mean, obviously people still struggle. I'm not saying that it's easy to grow up in the LGBT community, in some places in the world now, because obviously it is. But especially back then, it was just the athletes, the sporty guys were assholes. And I got bullied. I got bullied at school and I got bullied at my dance studio. Believe it or not, my dance studio was this bizarre place. It was like a powerhouse in the dance competition community. And it drew in lots of men, which was very rare for a dance studio. You don't usually conceive of like lots of men being at a dance studio. And it was a very macho environment. And it was actually pretty homophobic, if I'm honest. And I don't even want to use the words that
macho environments tend to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So without getting too far off track, Nippy, when I met you, I just felt like, wow, guys like this exist within this organization. And that is so special because you were clearly so sporty, athletic, but so intelligent and so
dudish.
kind. So you just operate, like, it was so clear to me in watching you coach people within this group with such integrity. And I just felt like if staying in this organization is going to help me to be more like this guy, I'm so here for it because I couldn't mean it more. So I was just psyched about what was happening here. And even though I was feeling a little wishy-washy on my auditioning and performance journey at that time in my life, I was just excited to be in those meetings and to hear you coach people because I loved it. And it was like next level.
Well, it cuts both ways. You showed up and you were into it. And I saw like, hey, if this guy's willing to be helped, I can see how this is applicable to him. So it was, and our organization, our cult, whatever you want to call it, had a lot of people that really believed that they were there to show up and help people. So you could go get this help in an organization that was otherwise had poor leadership because there was a lot of people there that were like, these tools do work. If you're open to me telling you what I see and you go, yeah, and applying that to your life, like that's how I felt like this could work. And you showed up like ready to do that, as I remember. Like prepared and not wanting me to do the work for you. You were willing to do the work. And I felt like that was a good way, where I could help people, and so I think it cut both ways. I was excited to work with people like that. If that makes sense.
I appreciate that. No, that totally makes sense. And I would think that as a coach, and not ESP coach, but just like coach in sports or coach in any other area of your life, you want people that are showing up like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just thought of something that was a little red flaggy that happened in this timeline, which was when I was asked to just casually accompany one of the proctors who couldn't drive to rent a car and pick someone up from the train station and drive them up to Claire's and then drive back to the city. And that was like the use of one of my days. And I did that. Well, I think I was paid. I don't recall what I was paid, but the proctor that I got to go with, Proctor E was one of my favorite people in the company. Oh my goodness. Like,
I'm trying to remember who that is.
Yeah, you'll connect the dots.
I'll figure it out. So you've had a really good experience so far, which is great. There's been a couple red flags. Oh, was the red flag of you driving Proctor E up, was that a bit of that was the red flag, or did something happen on the car ride you were going to mention?
No, it wasn't. I just think looking back, that's super weird.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it was like a really great opportunity for me to get to spend a day with Proctor E because I just had such a good time when he was leading our classes and like, cool, I didn't have anything else going on. If I can help out somehow, let's do it.
Great. Amazing. Okay, so let's pause there. We'll come back for part 2 on Thursday where we get into the next year and when some of the red flags started happening. And you memorializing Pam's funeral, which is crazy, and what happened after we left and how you eventually woke up.
How you figured it out.
How you figured it out. Stay tuned.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean, hanging on to the weight of my love. If I let go of it all, I could leave, but I know I won't.
We hope you're enjoying A Little Bit Culty. If so, please do show us some love. Drop a rating or leave a review. Hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/alittleBitCulty.
Even better, send this episode to someone who needs it. Maybe they're in a cult. Maybe they're just a little bit susceptible. Or maybe they just love a good story. Spread the word, spread the love. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
A Little Bit Culty is a Trace 120 production.
Executive produced by Sarah Edmondson and Anthony Nippy Ames in collaboration with producer Will Rutherford at Citizens of Sound. Our co-creator is Jess Temple Tardy.
Our production coordinator is Leslie Dinsmore.
Writing by Sandra Namoto and social media marketing by Eric Swarzinski and Brooke Keene.
Our theme song, Cultivated, is by the artists John Bryant and Nigel Aslan.